Hello and welcome to the hello and welcome to the Power of Your Mind podcast. We uh, hello and welcome to the Power of Your Mind podcast, where we dive deep into the world of manifestation, the law of attraction, and the unlimited potential of your mind. You are listening to episode 271, Law of Attraction: The Power of Responsibility. I'm Jim Kellner, your co-host, comedy hypnotist, and alongside me, we have the amazing Victoria Gallagher, our host of the show and renowned expert in the field of the law of attraction. Quick reminder to subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform so you never miss an episode. Victoria Gallagher is a best-selling author of The Practical Law of Attraction, the founder of HypnoCloud apps, HipTalk, and be sure to check out her new Believe Hypnosis app launching soon, or maybe it's already available depending on when you're listening. And it's going to feature over 1,000 audios and include many new features and provide life-changing audios for people from all walks of life about law of attraction, manifestation, business success, and so much more. The goal of this show is to inspire you to dream big and to live your best life. Each week, we discuss how to use manifesting, law of attraction, affirmation, meditation, and hypnosis to create the life of your dreams. Hello, Victoria.
Hello, Jim. Good to see you. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. And how are you?
I am great. I'm great. Speaking of Believe, so I have, like when you're doing app testing, it's disappeared. You can't even see my phone. I was gonna
hold it in front of your body, maybe.
Oh, there we go.
Yep.
Yeah. So I was gonna show you or the listeners. This is you can hear this pretty opening music. Oops. So pretty. And you get started and you set your goal, you set your feelings. And then ultimately we create like a custom recommendation for you based on the goals and the feelings that you put in. And so it's coming soon. It's still coming soon. Maybe it's there, by the time that you're listening to this, because we're getting so close. We're just getting so close. Yeah. But it's like, it's just one of those things. That when the time is right, the time is right.
Exactly. Can't wait for it to be there.
Me too. Oh my God. I'm just waiting.
Mm-hmm. So today we're talking about the power of responsibility as it relates to the law of attraction. So can you tell us, what does it really mean to take responsibility in terms of the law of attraction?
Yeah, this is this is a really deep and powerful topic. And for some people, it might even be just a little bit edgy, a little bit in your face, because a lot of people, especially these days, they don't want to, they don't want to take and own responsibility for being exactly in the place that they're in their life. And, here's the thing though, is if you want to know what you have been thinking about, what you have been feeling, what kind of actions you've been taking in your life, take a look around you. Take a look at, take a look at your friends, take a look at your house, take a look at your job, take a look at the situation you're in. And that is as a result of the thoughts predominantly. It's not that to say that you think a thought and boom, it's going to manifest. It's your predominant way of being. It's a beingness. And so, when it comes to the law of attraction and being responsible, it is, I like to break down the word into two words: response able.
Yeah.
You have the ability to respond. And so it doesn't necessarily mean that like every event that's ever happened in your life you created. It doesn't mean that at all. What it does mean is that the events that have happened in your life, whether you created them or not, you have the ability to, create your own, generate your own response to them. If someone cuts you off in traffic, that wasn't your fault. Okay. And how are you going to let that impact the rest of your day? How are you going to respond to that? Are you going to let that like, oh, I can't, I can't think straight for the rest of the day. I can't be productive. I can't be inspired. I can't be happy because traffic was so bad. Or, that's kind of minimizing some of the events that do happen. Sometimes we're faced with very significant circumstances and events that have happened in our lives. And because of those events that have happened in our lives, we kind of feel like, oh, well, because this happened to me, I can't move on. I can't be happy. I can't create this. Because I failed at a business before, I can't be successful in another business because it just doesn't work. Or because I, tried this diet and that diet, I can't lose weight because diets don't work for me. And, so it's really about taking the events, the circumstances, the situations that we have to deal with and changing the way that you respond to it in such a way that you can move forward and create the best life ever. Most of the most successful, like crazy successful people in this world, billionaires, came from extremely humble, horrible beginnings. And so it was how they responded to the situations and the circumstances in their lives that allowed them to move beyond and way beyond. I mean, sometimes those situations can actually be a gift. Maybe it's something that you're meant to overcome and teach in people about. So many times people have been dealt such a horrible hand of cards, but then they were able to overcome it and then become an inspiration for others to be able to do the same. So it's about, taking responsibility for not everything that, that happened to you, but how you choose to be, even in having dealt with that situation.
Right. And so, if we are confronted with those things that happen to us in daily life, no matter how Zen-like we try to be or how positive we try to be, somebody will still cut us off in traffic, right? Or we'll get a flat tire, whatever will come up. So what are the two mindsets or viewpoints that we could choose to have when it comes to events that happen in our life?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. So yeah, there are a couple different mindsets or viewpoints, and I'm just reading this right out of my book, Practical Law of Attraction. And so the two mindsets are: you can perceive life is happening to you, that you're at the mercy of something else outside of you. How you think, feel, react to the circumstances are beyond your control. And I like to refer to this as the victim mentality. So that victim mentality is one way that we can choose. And again, this is a choice. How we think is our choice. Or we can perceive that life is happening through you. Something inside of you is the cause. You are creating, you are manifesting the world that you see around you. How you think, how you feel, how you act is 100% in your control. And so you get to choose, what is the mindset that I want to live in? Do I want to live in the mindset of everything's happening, all this stuff is happening, keeps happening to me? And I've been there. I mean, we all have, it's not something we don't sometimes fall into. We all fall into the trap of victim thinking, like, oh, why does this keep happening to me? But
Right.
what is that
Yeah.
getting you?
Yeah.
And for some people, they are getting benefits out of that.
Mhm.
There are benefits.
Somebody comes up and goes, "Oh, you poor thing."
You poor thing. Oh my God, life is so hard for you. I realize sometimes for myself, even I'll be the first to admit, sometimes I, get I'm a hard worker. Everybody knows, like I work hard and and I go through my own struggles. I've been going through this, struggle, with the app and all this kind of stuff. And so I go through that feeling sometimes. It's like, okay, why does it always have to be so hard for me?
Mm.
And but I think when I take responsibility and I take ownership over why I sometimes will shift into that thinking, is that, like, for whatever reason, I want to be acknowledged for how hard I work. Like, I don't want
Mm.
anybody to think like all the everything I created was just handed to me. And
Yeah.
yet, eh, you know, uh, why would that be a bad thing?
Yeah.
That would make me even more powerful. If I could just kind
Yeah.
of like let go of that ego that has to say, like, oh, everything, is so hard, it's almost like I'm just being vulnerable here. Like, it's almost like a deservability thing. Like, I
Mm.
don't deserve it. I haven't earned it
Yeah.
unless I worked really hard for it.
Right. And people know you worked really hard
And
for it.
people
Yeah.
know that I worked really hard for it,
Yeah.
and so I think in some ways it's like, overcoming that would be like, it's a self-worth type of thing. So, it's like we're all in our different areas. I don't profess here on this show as a Power of Your Mind podcast creator to have it all, completely 100% figured out. I've got a lot of things figured out for sure.
Hmm.
And here's a glimpse into my mindset. So you can also see that, like, you're always going to have your thing that you're working through. Here's mine, here's
Hmm.
mine. It's like, oh, it's got to be so hard. And that's definitely coming off.
Oh
That
yeah. All right.
mask is that badge of honor. I'm going to rip that thing off so
Mm.
fast. Your head's going to spin. That is coming
Okay.
soon. I'm working on it. It's like,
Are you? Yeah.
come on. It's because it's been glued there for so long. It's been glued
Mm.
there for so long. So I've kind of realized that, that's my way of playing the victim,
Mm.
is that it has to be so hard. And that if it's too easy, then other people are going to look at me and say, oh, you live in this big fancy house, or you drive a nice car, you get to go on these vacations, and there's going to be some kind of jealousy or animosity or hate, toward me, just like any rich person, has to deal with. Not saying that I'm rich yet. But I don't want people look at me like that. But you know what? You just got to get over that. You just got to get over what other people think about you. But just being honest, like, that's probably what I'm getting out of it.
Mm.
And so that's, I think, one of the first steps to removing your victim mindset is figuring out, like, what am I getting out of this behavior?
Mhm.
What am I getting out of it? Am I
Mhm.
getting coddling? Am I getting, people liking me? Am I getting, what is it that I'm getting out of that victim mindset? And then what's another way that I could get that benefit
Mhm.
that's more healthy?
Mm. Yeah. Something and I remember, in some of my really dark times, which I go through every once in a while, like really just for whatever reason, things are going great. I mean, sometimes things are going great and you still just have a dark time. There's some religions that have this belief that we actually choose our existence before we come to the earthly plane.
Hmm.
I don't know if I believe that or not, but I do find it kind of a comforting thing in that moment to go, you know what if you just chose this? What if this was your choice this time? Last time, you were rich and famous and good looking and smart and all this. And this time, you know, you decide you want to struggle a little bit, and
Yeah.
kind of helps me a little bit. Like I chose it.
Yeah. Yeah. I do agree with that, and that's one of the philosophies that I talk about at the very, very beginning of my book is that there's a couple different ways that you can look at the things that we attract that are like horrible things. Some people have had really, really significant I'm not going to go into actual terms, but just some very significant
Good
life
stuff.
experiences that they don't deserve, that nobody deserves, and yet and people want to know, like, well, did I attract that? And that to me, it kind of comes down to, like you said, it if it's completely 100% your responsibility, you created everything, then it would have probably had to do with, because like if you got raped when you were 4 years old or something like crazy like that, no, it's not like you sat around thinking about this horrible thing is going to happen. There's-
Right.
there's so many different explanations for why something like that may have come about. Yes, maybe you chose to come into a body that would experience that. And as a result of having that experience, you went on in this life to learn about you know pain, or learn about how to overcome being in that taken advantage of, or something along the, there might have been some lesson, some life lesson that you came into this body to learn. It might be something along the lines of spirit, God, infinite intelligence, just chooses different people to have these different life experiences. And that could be the reason. um you know so it's not always, sometimes we do manifest bad things to happen to ourselves by dwelling on it, by fearing it, by fearing, just say you lose your job. But, backing up from that, maybe you weren't really happy in that job. Maybe you went home every night and you started complaining, about your boss every night, and you bring that energy into your workplace, or you're gossiping to somebody else about how much you hate your job, and then you end up losing your job. And it's like, not saying that that was your fault, but, did you perhaps have something to do with the uh, the vibration of being in a negative vibration, such that you were an easy target for somebody to lose their job. And, so it's like there's really a fine line between the things that the negative things that we manifest. And I will also say that, the positive energy is so, so, so much more powerful the negative energy. It takes a lot more negative energy to attract something negative to you than it takes positive energy to attract something positive to you. Does that make sense?
Interesting. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. So the light wins over the darkness.
Hmm.
And like, think about it. You walk into a dark room and all you have to do is light a candle. You just
Mhm.
only need the tiniest amount of light and you can bring light into a room.
Yeah.
But think about if you're in a completely lit room with, with windows open everywhere and it's daylight, the darkness doesn't have a chance in that room.
Mhm.
And so
Yeah.
light always wins. Positive
Yeah.
energy always wins. That's much, much more, um, powerful force. Maybe, that has to do with why, back in the, you know, early days, God said, let there be light, and there was
Mm.
light, and it was just like that. And it
Yeah.
was meant to happen. But getting back to how that impacts us, how that, our, victim mentality impacts us, what it does, it's not necessarily about that we created the negative thing. It's still about how are we dealing with that? How are we responding to that? Are we staying stuck in the past? Are we continuing to hold resentment about something or someone that happened or something that didn't happen that you wanted to happen? How are you continuing to be in that, having had that situation?
So, I think one of the things that we might want to talk about is that maybe the difference between, is it your fault or your responsibility?
Mm-hmm.
So you say everything that happens to us is it our fault? Is it our responsibility?
Mm-hmm. That's such a distinction there, between fault and
Mhm.
responsibility, because there, it's not to blame you for anything that happened. It's not your fault. The things that the circumstances that you're dealing with in your life aren't your fault. Um, but it is always 100% your responsibility. How you feel in any given moment is your responsibility. Like, one of the things, that you'll hear an expression oftentimes, when people are in a fight, or they, break up, or whatever, and they'll say, this is all your fault, like, why I feel this way. You're making me feel, you're making me angry, you're making me sad, you're making me blah, blah, blah. And the truth of the matter is, no one can make you feel any way that you don't want to feel without giving them your permission. So you're choosing to feel that way. Our feelings are actually our choice. And and that is so liberating. That's, I don't have this conversation about the responsibility um because I want to point my finger and say, oh, you're responsible
Mhm.
for everything that happens in your life. I want to empower people. I want to inspire people. And so the truth of the matter is that it's liberating when you realize that, oh, how I think, creates how I feel, and how I feel creates how I respond, and how I respond creates my results. I mean, and law of attraction really comes down to that.
Mhm.
So, situation happens, and you can choose to see it through the eyes of the victim. This happened to me. Or you can choose to happen, you can choose to see it through the eyes of someone who is in the process of creating their dreams, manifesting their dreams, and saying, that has nothing to do with me. That has nothing to do with the future that I'm creating for myself. And that's not something that I want to create from. I want to create from a place of empowerment. I want to create from a place of, if it's to be, it's up to me. I'm responsible for creating my life. And, so when you see it that way, when you see that, I can create anything without regard to any past situations or circumstances that have, seemingly happened to you. I can choose right now, right now, and right now, and right now. I'm going to think in ways that are empowering me. And I'm going to choose to change my viewpoint about that so that I can feel empowered, so that I can feel inspired, so that I can feel disciplined, so I can feel motivated, so I can feel belief and confidence and all the things that I would need to feel in order to have a new response and take the necessary actions toward what it is that I choose to create.
It certainly puts you in a more of a powerful position, because if you're responsible for what happens to you, then you do have some control over making it not happen again, or if it's a bad thing, something you
Yeah.
don't want. How do we know if we're kind of coming from a victim mentality? How can we kind of notice that?
Well, you're going to be saying things like, oh, okay. Well, for one, usually when you're coming from a victim place, you're talking about people, how so that's one thing, is like, you'll be talking and gossiping about people. And anytime you're gossiping or about people, it's because you think that how they act has some kind of influence over you, like that, it's bothering you. It's taking something away from you that you think that you deserve. You might be coming from jealousy, you might be coming from resentment, you might be, so to talk about somebody already, that's putting you into a disempowering place. And so that's one way that you can kind of feel like, whatever they do has some kind of impact on you, and it doesn't. Um, you spend a lot of time focusing on the past instead of being in the present. You focus a lot of time fearing about potential things that might happen in the future. You're complaining a lot about
Mm-hmm.
what you don't have. I mean, just all kinds of, it's usually, though, it's negative. You feel a lot of times it might result in, you you deal with a lot of sickness, or aches and pains. That's one of the things that, if you are, and I'm not saying that, we bring all of the illnesses, and I'm just not saying that, but typically, I mean, if you, every day you fall off your diet, or you, decide, I'm too tired to go to the gym. And ultimately, these types of behaviors are going to lead to some kind of negative impact in your body. You're going
Mm-hmm.
to, gain weight. That's ultimately not healthy. That can lead to other things. We can create pain and illness and things like that, in our body. So I'm just going to say that if you tend to be the type of person who's like sick all the time, or you get sick every time, um, the flu bug rolls around, and you're just
Yeah.
constantly dealing with that. That's probably a sign that you're coming from a victim mentality. Can you
You know,
think
and
of any other in some situations that I might have missed?
well, I'll tell you, I used to be a massage therapist for like 20 years. I was a massage therapist,
Oh, I just got a
and
massage yesterday.
awesome. Um, haven't had a massage in far too long. So one of the things was there was one condition, and I'm not going to say what it is because if somebody's out there and they've got it, I don't want to pinpoint them. And it's not, it's certainly a generalization, but I got to tell you, most of the time when people would come in with this certain condition,
I
there
think
are
I
actually
know
a
the
couple
one
of
you're
them.
talking about.
But this one, it was like they had a type. It was a type of person, and they always were this one type, and it was kind of that victimy kind of a person. And of course, I wonder, which one came first. Maybe they had the disease and it made them be victimy, but it was so,
Picked me.
you know, and I would talk to other massage therapists. They'd go, you know what, you're right. And so it was interesting. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember,
Yeah.
you talk about getting sick all the time. I had a friend, grew up, in high school and everything, and all the way up for 20 years, we were friends. And every time somebody at work would get sick, he'd go, "Well, I'm going to get sick. I know
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to get sick." Like, dude, stop saying that.
Yeah. Oh my God. Or, well, I mean, I hear people say, um, you know, this is what happens, so I'm of a certain age.
Yeah,
Certain things happen to some women at this age, and
right.
I have joined a group around it because there are some effects that I
Sure.
deal with and that I want to know how other people. But oh my God, when you join a group
Yeah,
around the thing that you're dealing with, it really, honestly, it just doesn't, it just feeds you with more
right. Yeah,
more, like literally every single thing that happens is blamed on this one particular time in a woman's life, right?
right.
Everything. And then
Yeah.
on top of that, people say, "Oh, this is just what happens to you when you get old." And
Oh
it's
yeah, I
like,
hate that.
"Oh my
Yeah,
God, I just X that out immediately."
yeah.
Because it's like, no, this is not what happens to me. And and it's just interesting because I'm at an age where my family was dealing with certain things that I'm not dealing with, and I've chosen not to deal with those things because I don't own that. But if you have a certain mindset that's saying like, "Oh, well, this is just how it is, this is just," or you have a mindset, if you're single and you're whether, I don't care if you're a man, woman, or otherwise, if you are constantly telling yourself that all the good ones are taken, then
Right.
guess what? that's
Yeah.
that's what you're going to manifest, and that's what you're going to create. And people are entering and exiting relationships all the time. The right one is getting out of a relationship that's just not for them, and waiting, for the right one to come into their life. So it's just all how you choose to think. And really does come down to this whole victim versus responsible. um it all just comes down to how you choose to think, and how you choose to feel, and how you choose to react and respond.
I got to think, it's almost like learning a new language, a new way of thinking, a new way of speaking. This breaking free from this victim mentality can be difficult.
Mhm.
So as folks are working on that, they're trying to get out of this victim mentality. Can they still? Well, they can still manifest. Of course, I almost said, can they still manifest? But of course, they're going to manifest. Could they still manifest the good stuff that they'd like to get?
you know so I mean, no one's perfect at this. Like I was saying, we all have our good days and our bad days, when it comes to any of these clues into how to raise your vibration and become a better manifester. So I'm not saying that, like, if you ever one day feel like victimy, I like that word. that are you going to ruin all your chances for ever being able to manifest? No. You are but these are all like little clues. And this was actually, we've been um over the last 16 episodes that the two of us have been doing together, we've been talking about what I call in my book, Practical Law of Attraction, the manifesting qualities as opposed to the 8 manifesting conditions. These were the 16 manifesting qualities. And these are qualities that if you bring about all of these 16 qualities, whew, you are going to be on fire. You are going to raise your vibration so high to a point where you're going to be an amazing manifester. So these are like all of the being, like the getting yourself into alignment with all the manifesting conditions. That's like sort of what you have to do in order to, to create. But these qualities are how you be, so I'm giving people uh a I'm giving people like the beingness,
Mm.
on what kind of a person ultimately is going to be a better manifester. So yeah, you're going to have bad days. You're going to sometimes feel like, oh, the world's out to get me. And then, the key to this all is just recognizing when you are in that line of thinking, and realize, what am I getting out of this? And are you going to manifest your dreams if you think that it's impossible to do so because of something that happened to you? Are you going to just give up? Are you going to just go through life saying like, oh, nothing ever good happens to me, I'm so unlucky? I mean, if that's what you want, then you can certainly easily, stay there and stay in that place and complain and bitch and moan about why life sucks.
Yeah. Right.
And it doesn't have to be that way. You can make another choice. You can choose to recognize, not beat yourself up, but recognize that, oh, I may be thinking thoughts that are not quite empowering me to get what I want. And then you can make that shift. And so the first step is really just that awareness. It kind of gets back to I think the first quality, of using that awareness to recognize, to see yourself, to observe honestly, to be honest with yourself, like, okay, I see myself. I see that I'm thinking in ways that are not serving me. And now I can do something about that. And now I can shift my mindset. Now I can say, okay, I forgive. And I think that's, we talked about that quality. So forgiveness to me is like the key to it all when it comes to responsibility, because whatever happened to you that you're dwelling on that's making you feel like a victim, if you just let go of the resentment and the attachment, because the resentment keeps you attached, it keeps you stuck with whatever it is that you feel happened to you. It's not happening now. That's the thing, is to and then so to be present, which I think is if it's not a condition or a quality, it should be a quality, but to be present, to be present right now, because whatever happened before isn't happening now. And, and take responsibility to shift your thinking to a person who is ready, to live the life of their dreams.
I'm ready. Are you ready?
I'm ready. I am ready.
All right.
I'm ready for
No.
it to be easy and effortless.
Yes. So no being victimy, people. No being victimy.
No more being victimy. And so that
Thank you, Victoria.
concludes. Yeah, thank you, Jim. That concludes. I don't know what we're going to talk about next week, because I was using this, these
Oh,
16 manifesting qualities, to kind of like go through this process. So we're gonna be on it. Maybe next week we'll be talking about my new book.
all right. Sounds good.
And so yeah, thank you guys so much though for hanging around and listening again to the Power of Your Mind podcast. Hope you found this episode informative and inspiring and empowering. And please be sure to share this podcast with your friends, with your family, with your coworkers, with your cats, your dogs, your neighbors, your
Exactly.
colleagues, and tune in next week. Oh, and of course, what's that song?
Oh yeah.
Leave us a
Leave a
review, leave us
review,
a
leave a
review, leave
review,
us a
leave a
review.
review, leave a review.
And tune in next week for another inspiring episode. Until then, keep using the power of your mind to reach your goals and live your best life of abundance and joy. Bye now.
Bye.